Welcome to the Paisa Ka Gyan channel. If last week was marked by the Trump inauguration, then the current one is dedicated to the meeting of the Federal Reserve System. Nevertheless, Trump's name is still in the spotlight and will be relevant this week. Last week, after the inauguration, we expected Trump's statements and actions related to the crypto industry. We received some of them, and they even slightly alarmed the markets. Perhaps the coming week will bring more clarity. For example, Eric Trump shared some details today, but more on that later. Let's start with the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. The closing chart shows that at the current Bitcoin price of $105,000, the closing occurred at approximately the same level. The chart also shows the closest gap to the current price. Although the never say never rule applies in the crypto market, closing this gap during the week seems unlikely. It's hard to imagine what would have to happen to do that. However, a new gap at the opening is quite possible if the players start to get nervous on Monday morning. Regarding trading volumes and open interest, trading volume remained elevated at the time of Trump's inauguration. However, the open interest, that is, the number of open positions, has stalled in one place. There is an interesting caveat. This week, on 31st January, the first Bitcoin futures of the year will be closed. Earlier, futures closing weeks were extremely volatile, but this week there is enough volatility without the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. According to the data of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission for 21st January, the ratio of shorts and longs on the stock exchange is almost the same. The shorts outweigh the longs by only 250 positions, which indicates an almost equal balance of power in the market. Recently, there have been positive inflows in Bitcoin, which is a cause for concern for many. Now we will add a third chart dedicated to Solana ITF to this analysis. It shows a deadline from several companies. However, despite a thorough study of the cryptocurrency press, no mention of Solana ITF has yet been found. It is important to note that the 25th falls on a Saturday, and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has the right to postpone its decision to the next business day. It is unlikely that they will break their own rules. However, unexpected surprises are possible on Monday. The biggest surprise would be the approval of Solana by the ITF, but as I said before, too little time has passed since Gary Gensler's appointment. Most likely, the SEC will take a break. As for the large Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, we will continue to monitor their dynamics. During the year, the market experienced both a series of downsides and upsides. The advantages prevailed, which has a peculiar psychological effect. Indeed, large investors, better known as whales, continue to buy, and at current prices, which may raise hopes among other market participants. Perhaps they were inspired by the words of Larry Fink, who stated that Bitcoin would at least reach a value of $500,000. The crypto ITF cluster remains the focus of our attention. Moreover, it is worth noting that we are witnessing a stream of new initiatives that can both alert and inspire optimism. Two recent initiatives are an example. American crypto projects are hoping for more attractive tax rates. Eric Trump said that American crypto projects can be exempt from taxes, while foreign companies, on the contrary, must pay them. This raises a lot of questions. For example, what will happen to Bitcoin, which is a supranational currency? Or how will this affect Ethereum if the headquarters of the Ethereum Foundation is located in Switzerland? The situation remains uncertain, and many aspects need to be clarified. I doubt that Bitcoin will be under attack, since the introduction of a tax on Bitcoin, especially in the amount of about 30%, as proposed by the younger Trump, will clearly turn away almost all American Bitcoiners from it. Such a decision would go against the promises that Trump made regarding Bitcoin. With such high taxes, There can be no question of any Bitcoin reserves in the United States, whether at the state or state level. Nevertheless, there are reasons for optimism. As I said earlier, Senator Cynthia Lummis, though not in words, but in her actions hints that everything will be fine with Bitcoin in the United States. However, there may probably be issues with other cryptocurrencies. Permutations and changes in legislation are quite possible. We will understand these changes step by step and build our understanding of what is happening. Another example of initiatives is the position of Senator Ted Cruz, who criticized the decision of the American Tax Service on the regulation of brokers in the field of DFE. In his opinion, such rules stifle innovation, and such initiatives certainly deserve support. The graph on the left shows data on other crypto projects that analysts have collected. These events are important for every project, but the key unifying moment will be March, when all attention will be focused on Ethereum and its update. In addition, you can see information about upcoming token unblocks on the graph on the right. It all depends on the team. Either the funds will be used for a luxurious life or for further investments in projects. To understand the prospects, it is necessary to dive deeper into projects, monitor their social networks, and have confidence that the team is capable of positive rather than negative steps. Now let's move on to the traditional market. The reporting season is in full swing. One of the key events of the week will be the Tesla report, where we are particularly interested in whether the company has kept the bitcoins on its balance sheet or sold them. Let me remind you that earlier there were rumors that Tesla had moved funds, but these data were then refuted. We will find out the answer to this question on Wednesday. The story is notable for the fact that as soon as rumors about the sale of bitcoins by Elon Musk appeared, the bets on Trump in the political markets increased dramatically. Companies from the so-called Mad 7, such as Microsoft, are also reporting this week. These reports can influence the overall market sentiment, given their significant weight in the index. However, it should be borne in mind that the day of publication of Microsoft's reports coincides with the meeting of the Federal Reserve System. Even giants like Microsoft and Meta will be overshadowed by the interest rate decision. It is important to note that the first week of the Trump administration proved to be extremely volatile for financial markets. Although some predicted their collapse, the opposite happened. The markets reacted with growth. According to Bloomberg, one of the reasons for the positive reaction was Trump's rejection of a key trade thesis, the imposition of 60% duties on China and other aggressive measures. This step was received positively. However, you can't be sure about anything with Trump. Today he can abandon one policy, and tomorrow he can sign a series of decrees that will shock the markets. Therefore, it remains only to closely monitor the situation without looking up from the monitors. Market volatility continues to be high. In the first week of the Trump administration, it played a positive role, which had a positive effect on both the price of Bitcoin and gold. So, on Thursday, 30th January, there will be a meeting of the Federal Reserve System on the issue of interest rates. It is scheduled for 0:30 New Delhi time. Half an hour after that, Jerome Powell's press conference will begin, where he will discuss the key points of the meeting and look into the future, focusing on what is more important, the state of the labor market or inflation. Judging by the last meeting, it seems that inflation is coming to the fore, and this trend is likely to continue. But today we will focus on other events. Trump is calling for lower interest rates, which is understandable. He benefits from cheaper borrowing costs. Overall, the US economy performed well at the end of 2024, driven by stable consumer spending and a breakaway from other global economies. Economists predict that the initial estimate of US GDP for the fourth quarter, which will be released next week, will show annual growth of 2.7%. This is slightly lower than in previous quarters, where growth was about 3%. The report on economic activity in the United States will be released the day after the Fed meeting. It is also worth paying attention to the monthly household spending data, which will be published on Friday. According to forecasts, they will indicate certain changes in 2025. Economists expect the personal income and expenses report to show a slight increase in the Fed's preferred measure of inflation compared with previous months. Let me remind you that this indicator, known as consumer inflation, is a key indicator for the Fed, although the consumer price index is considered a more accurate and powerful market. Here, in principle, are all the key events that you should pay attention to next week. It promises to be rich and full of economic data that can have a significant impact on the markets. The channel Paisa Ka Gyan was with you. Subscribe and like it, and we will continue to provide a lot of useful information.